Press record. We're doing this. Thank you guys for coming. I'm so excited. Okay, setting up meeting for YouTube Live. Hold on. Press record. We're doing this. Thank you guys for coming.
Okay,
let's not listen to myself. Meeting for YouTube Live. Hold on.
You're doing great, Wendy. You're doing great.
It's only 8 a.m. out
Take
there.
a deep breath.
Right there. I found it. I'm muting myself. Okay, we're good. Hi guys, how's it going?
How's it going?
Morning.
Good.
Good morning. Good morning. All right. Happy Tuesday. Favorite day of the week. And I'm really excited for today because you guys have heard me talking about Fello for a very long time now. I think we've been in it for 6 or 7 months. I don't know, but he is my new best friend. So anyway, but I do have a lot of people that decided to join Fello, and now they're getting hand raisers and don't know what to do. So that is what this call is all about, because I get that question a lot, like, what are the best practices? Do we follow up even if they just look at the email, or should we wait until they actually press the button? Like, it's so confusing because you get notifications all the time of all these people engaging, right, with Fello. So anyway, so I brought Ryan Young on the call. I'm super excited because he is the genius behind Fello. And I remember when I first joined, I watched what was it, like 30 listings in 30 days or something ridiculous? Yeah. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. And so I got him on the call to talk to you guys about Fello. How exciting, right?
I'm super excited to be here. It's going to be cool. And just really quickly, I think it's super important to just throw this out there. I am essentially a tech CEO, right? I founded a technology company called Fello, but ultimately I'm a real estate guy. I'm a realtor. I started a team in Northeast Ohio. Actually, I joined my folks back in 2009. We grew it relatively quickly. We sell about 500 homes a year. We have 15 agents. We're very listing based. We aren't like a Zillow Flex team or any of these other RDC, PPC buyer. We're very focused on listings. I actually just came from a team meeting, and we kind of talked about just our core strategy of the team is find more listings, do more open houses, and it seems like we just always continue to grow with that strategy. There's nothing sexy about it. It's kind of old school. But it's just we always know when we're going into a week and we have 10 plus listings going to the market, we normally see that like following week when we're talking about properties under contract, we just see this like massive influx of properties go under contract because it creates all these buyers, and sometimes we double lend them and it creates all these open house opportunities. And so it's like listings for us has always been the catalyst to our success. There's nothing wrong with a buyer-based business. We still represent a couple hundred buyers a year. We're about 300 listings, 200 buyers. So obviously buyers need love too. But it's just one of those things. What I'm really passionate about is how can I help our industry wean off of the buyer leads, right? Start focusing on generating your own buyer leads by people calling your signs, by people coming to your open houses, by you holding the inventory. And my mom, who I love dearly, who's been on our team, she's the founder of the team. She's in her mid 70s. Last year, she sold about 50 homes in her mid 70s. She used to always say when I got in the industry, if you go into a store and there's no inventory on the shelves, there's no reason to stay in the store. You turn around and leave, right? And she always kind of said, listings is your inventory. If you are a store, you need inventory on your shelves. If not, you're not in business. And so hopefully what I can do in the next 45 minutes or so is help you all start to become more intentional about seller lead generation. I'm going to walk through some Fello stuff. Raise your hand if you're a Fello user. Some. Okay, so if you're not, some of the principles I'm going to show you, you can ultimately do outside of Fello. it makes it a little bit easier within Fello, but you don't have to be a Fello user to generate listings. Fello's just core competency. What our focus is how can we help you generate more? Okay. So before we jump in, I want to do let's make this a little bit participation class. Wendy mentioned that last year we did this 30-day listing challenge, and I set 30 listings in 30 days. So Susan asked, yes, we can get you all set up with Fello. That's not a problem. I basically went out publicly on social media, and if you follow me on Instagram, I went out and said, my name's Ryan Young. I own the Young team. I also own Fello, and I'm going to go set 30 listing appointments in the next 30 days. Now, I haven't been in production for 4 years, right? We have a team of agents. I started to get out of production, focused on growing the team, focused on building Fello. And I said this publicly, and I declared, I'm going to keep you guys posted on this journey. And it kind of went viral, right? And so every day I was making phone calls, and I said, look, I'm not taking any new leads. These are all strictly from my database. And I wanted to show the Fello community, which it went much bigger than Fello, that like we all have enough opportunities as long as we have the right strategy and we ultimately execute that strategy to go generate listings. And so the participatory part of the class is raise your hand in the last 30 days if you've taken one listing. Okay. Let me see any hands go up. I love it. This is awesome. All right. Do me a favor. If you've taken a listing, unmute yourself. All right. And I would love to just hear how you generated that listing. Sumo, why don't you start off?
I generated by referral.
A referral. Awesome. I love that. Great job. Susan Johnson, how about yourself?
Well, two of them, I did three. Two of them were past clients. The third one was actually us. I don't know how many of us are in Krista's program, but I sold the nephew's house using a lot of the techniques from Krista's program. And so the uncle called me because he liked what he saw that I did with the listing. I listed
That's
that house.
awesome. Love it. Thank you, Susan. Christina, how about yourself?
Mine was a past client.
Past client. Teresa,
Same, past client selling their second home.
love it. Michelle,
I have one from lead gen and 3 from referral.
love it. Okay, so I appreciate all you guys participating. What is the consistency that we are hearing from the majority of these, right? The majority of these, they're past clients, they're referrals, they're coming into us, right? Which is amazing. Like that needs to be a part of your business. If it's not a part of your business, then you got to focus on kind of pillars being service, articulating value to your database, to your sphere of influence, and making sure that they become an evangelist of yours and that they are constantly out there working for you. Just like Wendy is constantly working for us at Fello. Like she's a huge evangelist of ours. She loves using the product and she's been such a supporter. How do you have a bunch of Wendy's within your own business, which are ultimately going to drive you these inbound opportunities, right? But if I challenged all of us and said, team, I want us all to go list 5 homes in the next 30 days. Okay. We got to go list 5 homes, every single one of us. That's the only way we win as a team. Would we start shaking a little bit and start being like, what the heck? Like there is how the 5 listings in the next 30 days. I normally just, when my sphere of influence or my past clients call me is when I get listings. What would the strategy be, right? And what I'm hoping that I can help you all with over the course of this next, 45 minutes or so is, can I help you come up with a strategy that if you needed to go generate X amount of listings in the next 30 days, that you would have a proactive way to do so, okay? Not reactive, which is we want to do both simultaneously. If you're, fishing or you want to have a net out there, that's ultimately working for you while you also have a line out there proactively doing it as well, right? How are we doing both simultaneously? And so I'm hoping that I can walk you through some kind of core principles that the Young team uses and some of our top Fello teams use to ultimately become very intentional about seller lead generation. Would that be helpful if we cover that over the next 45 minutes or so? We're going into spring market. We got to get that inventory. You know, some markets are really strong seller markets, some markets are starting to stabilize. But what I can promise you is if you are a store and you don't have inventory on your shelves, you're not really in business, right? And so I'm hoping that I can help us all come up with this strategy that we feel really good about. It's not, does not have to be cold calling and outbound calling and expireds and FSBOs. That could be a part of it, but it's really going to be a strategy that is built around repeatable daily habits that ultimately are going to help you start to win in this proactive seller lead generation. Okay. So I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to show you all Fello, my Fello account, and the way I actually approached this seller lead gen strategy when I set 30 listing appointments in 30 days. And I think something that is extremely important is, and don't be intimidated when you see our database and the size of it. I understand that not everyone's database has 58,000 people in it. Totally okay, right? You might have 500, or you might have 1,000, or you might have 5,000. The number one priority, excuse me, and this isn't going to help you get listings now, but this is going to help you generate a long-term pipeline of listings, is you need to become obsessed with building your database, okay? I taught this class a couple weeks ago within the Fello community. It was all about how do you build your database in the shortest amount of time. And what I said was, I'll run you through this and then I'll jump into Fello. Everyone, I said, raise your hands if you have over 500 contacts, and raise your hand over 1,000 contacts, and raise your hand over 10,000, and hands started dropping off. And I said, raise your hand in your iPhone or in your phone if you go to contacts, right? If you have over 500 contacts in your phone, over 1,000 contacts, over 5,000 contacts. We had people that had 3,000 friends on Facebook, 4,000 contacts in their phone, all these different communities that they were a part of, all these different emails that they had in their database, yet they never brought any of them over to their CRM, into their database. And that is a core foundation to successfully scaling proactively versus reactively, is starting to build your database. And I'm going to take it to one step further when it comes to database hygiene and actually building a healthy database to help you generate listings. I have 58,000 contacts in my database. Of those 58,000, I have 49,000 addresses. Okay. Now, this is extremely important as we're talking about building a foundation for seller lead generation. If you have a database that's 2,000 contacts, but you only have 100 addresses, you're going to struggle with this strategy that I'm going to recommend to you. Okay. The key is you have to become really intentional about not only building your database, but finding where your database lives, finding out if they own properties, if they don't. Ultimately, if we want to become really predictable in seller lead generation, it starts with having a foundation of databases of homeowners. Okay. Now, a lot of us historically maybe have bought buyer leads. Maybe we just uploaded a list and we didn't really know where they live. It is so important whether you do it manually. Fello actually provides an address enrichment, so we can actually just do it all for you in one shot. There's some other great products out there. Some MLSs provide some product called Forewarn, which is free to use, where you can actually go in and look for their address. You can just Google them, right, and see if you can find them. But it is so important that you start fundamentally looking at your database of saying, I need to build a database and I need to become really intentional about finding the addresses and the homeowners within my database. It sounds so simple, but this is going to be the foundational pillar. When I talk about the young team, selling about 300 listings a year without any lead generation, Zillow leads, Zillow Flex, seller connections, whatever it is, it's because I have a database of 48,000 addresses, homeowners, that we work so hard day over day to continue to build. And when a homeowner sells their home, whether with us or without us, we ultimately remove that property and we find their new address. Okay. So we are constantly just obsessed with building this database of homeowners. Real quick, Susan, go ahead. You have a question?
Thank you. Sorry, I don't want to interrupt you. I just put it in the chat, but did you build this huge database by, like, I got ads that go out that people click for home value, and that to me is them raising their hand because they want their home value. But I also took my whole farm you know, 1,000 people and input that into like HomeBot, but they
Yeah.
didn't all raise their hand. I put them in.
Yeah.
Is that what we're talking about? Or
We're talking about all the above. I love that you
Okay.
did that, right? You're farming, you're building your database through farming. Okay. You're building your database through leads that you've purchased. You probably also are maybe you live in a homeowners association where where everyone's emails and addresses and contact information is there. I'm uploading them into my database. I'm taking my kids' school directories and uploading them into my database. Some people might say, but you don't really have a relationship with them. Well, we leverage the message of get your home's value, which is very soft, right? Some people unsubscribe, but a lot of people like it. It's me providing value to them. It's me providing them educational resources, content, something that is actually of substance. If you think about every homeowner that gets an email, check out the value of your home, see how the market has impacted the value of your home. Every homeowner that is relevant to, right? That message is relevant to every homeowner. If you own a home and you get an email from me saying, are you curious what your home is? Well, your home's worth in this current market. What happens is ultimately we get a lot of engagement from that. So as we built this database somewhat organically, we built it through a little bit of lead generation. I built it just by going through, and let me just show you a little growth hack really quickly. I built it by, let me go to my Young Team email. And that is definitely not my Young Team email. Let's go here. Please log in. Sweet. All right. So let's just go into my Young Team email really quickly. And I'm going to do something where I say CC, and it's going to basically show me anything that I was CC'd on. Okay. And so there are times where I get emails from lenders. I get emails from appraisers. I'm somewhat removed from the Young Team. But just in terms of like the production, so I don't get as many of those emails anymore. But ultimately, like, let's just take, for example, this, all right? Progressive Building Supply invoice. All right. I bought some new doors, front doors. I got an email from this person at Progressive Supply. She lives in Northeast Ohio. I am adding this person to my database. And you guys might be like, why would you add this person? She didn't say she wanted to buy or sell real estate, but I am building my database off of anyone that's sending me an email that I'm doing business with. They own a home. I'm going to ultimately add them as a contact. Then I'm going to find their address. And then Shelby is going to get an email from the Young Team saying, hey, Shelby, would you like to know what your home's worth at 123 Main Street? Click here, right? So we are so intentional about building our database. And I can send you guys after this. I'll get it to Wendy and she can distribute it. This class I put together on here are the easiest ways to build your database organically. What I am so passionate about is we could go buy a bunch of leads, or I could add someone like Shelby, who I bought a front door from at Progressive Supply. And I was on an email with like 3 other people at Progressive Supply that I added all 3 of them. Fello and Rich found their address, and then they started opening emails from me, from the Young Team. They want to support me. I just bought a door from them, right? If you have a banker, if you have a lender, right? Lenders in your market ultimately own homes. Why should we not start getting in front of them, getting our brand in front of them? You never know what it will lead to. Here's the best part. It doesn't cost a lot of money to send an email, right? If you send an email of something of substance and value, like check out your home's value, you would be really surprised at the engagement you get. So I digress. The number one priority is let's go build a really big, strong database, okay? Doesn't mean you have to spend a lot of money. It means let's just be really intentional about every person we talk to. How can we start to get them into our database? And I'll show you why this is really important. So now we've built a database. We've got 48,000 contacts. We've got people engaging. Well, now we need to have some sort of lead generation strategy, okay? Now, let's say you're not a Fello client and you just use your CRM, which is great. Who's opening the emails you're sending them, right? Who's clicking on the emails you're sending them? So let's just say number of email opens is greater than 3, all right? Well, here I can see Aaron Sickle, who owns this property, ultimately has opened 26 emails from me. She's clicked on her home value dashboard 20 times. So if you don't have visibility into who's opening and clicking on your emails, you need to kind of reposition your email strategy, because a lot of the engagement is going to ultimately identify when you reach out to them if they know your brand or not. One of the reasons why Fello works so well is I'm sending Erin emails. She's clicked on 26 times. And when she lands on them, she's seeing the young team's brand. She's seeing whoever her agent is. The emails are coming disguised to look like they're coming from the young team. So I have a homeowner that ultimately, and we'll talk about a couple other strategies, but that ultimately is very actively engaged in the messages we're sending. When I reach out to Erin, and we'll talk about some scripts in a little bit of what do you say, when I reach out to Erin, it's not a cold call, right? Hey, Erin, I just wanted to make sure, you've been getting the emails I've been sending you. I know she has. She's opened them 26 times, right? And I just wanted to see what your thoughts were about the value. Do you think it's too high, too low, or just right? I always come from contribution. I always focus on how can I, when having conversations with homeowners, how can I first come with value versus just saying, do you want to sell your house? Right? So I want to make sure that we lean into this strategy of let's build the database, right? And then let's focus on some ways to get in front of our database. I would recommend to everyone, you leverage the home value message, okay? It's a no-brainer. You can send out an email, whether you're a Fello client or not, to your entire database that owns a home and say, the market, you'd be shocked at how much the market has appreciated or depreciated. I would love to get you the most up-to-date value of your home. Would that be helpful to you, right? One of the things I always recommend, and I'll show you on the young team, is anytime you are trying to get people to click or to respond to a home value message, you'll see this pop up in about 2 seconds. Always include a news event that might impact the value of their home. The average Ohio home value is up 6.5% according to Houseo, okay? Then maybe 30 days later, Intel just announced that they're doing a plant, a $3 billion plant. It's going to create 4,000 jobs. Are you curious how that's going to impact the value of your home, right? Interest rates just shot up to 7.5%. Are you curious how that's going to impact the value of your home? I just sold a home in a 3-way multiple offer around the corner from you. Are you curious how that's going to impact your home? If you just send people an email and say, would you like to know what your home's worth? And you're doing this manually, not through automation, through something like Fello, you're going to be spinning your wheels and you're not going to get the engagement you want. If you're actually going to do this manually and you're not going to use a product like Fello, then you ultimately need to provide some sort of news event that ultimately is going to make them want to engage with you around, wow, how much did that impact my home? Interest rates, home sales are up 6%. New company just announced they're doing their headquarters in Cleveland. Whatever it may be, maybe it's negative. So maybe it's something that's impacting homes negatively. But ultimately, you want to see how that impacts your home. Does this make sense on leveraging some of these news events to create some sort of engagement? I want to make sure that if you aren't using Fello and you want to do this, you totally can, a manual lift, but you're going to see a much higher engagement from people if you can include some sort of news event. Zillow just named Cleveland, which is shocking to me, the top 3 cities in the country to buy a home in 2025. We sent that out to our entire database, right? I don't know why. I've lived in Cleveland my entire life. I'd much rather live somewhere else. So the fact that we're number 3 is just puzzling, but see how that impacts your home's value with some positive news like this, right? And we get so much engagement and people almost celebrate it that they really respond to that message. Okay. So we're building our home. Go ahead.
Okay. So you're saying that we can go in and tweak the message that goes out like each month, instead of the same message going out, we can like add something to it.
So basically, I'm just saying if you're running your own strategy, right?
Well, I'm saying through Fello, like,
within Fello, we are sending thousands of variations of copy. We do what's called smart send. And so what we are doing is we are sending thousands of variations of all different kinds of home value emails. So for example, I'm going to click on this and it's going to say, get the current value of your property. Your home's worth for February at 123 Main Street. And then tomorrow or the next day, they'll see something like, let me go back to this. They'll see something like check out how recent sales have impacted the value of your home, right? And then the next day they'll see, see how upward trends in the market have positively impacted your home. So it's like constantly changing based on what people are clicking on and what seems to be the most engaged. And then we constantly keep, morphing or cloning those and then like top grading out the lowest performing content. So obviously
so we
we're
don't
doing
need
this
to
for
do
everyone.
anything. You guys are already doing it.
Yeah, and Fello, we do all this for you. I'm more
Okay.
suggesting, I know that not everyone's a Fello user. I don't want this to just be like a total Fello pitch. I want it to be like, you can also do this manually. If you don't have Fello, I want to hopefully help you guys be able to build the skill sets to being able to do this manually, or just sign up for Fello and have Fello do it for you.
Right. The
Christina,
thing
go ahead.
is 51,000, we have 51,000 people you guys are talking to. Try doing that manually and not going to Google jail. Like that's
Yeah,
what
and
I
that's
love
why there's
about
Fello.
Fello. Right.
Yeah, it's one of those things from a domain reputation and making sure that we don't plummet the deliverability and stuff like that. You have to be really strategic and intentional. But I will say, if you have a database of 2,000, 3,000, and this is built off of, right now people that and stuff like that, most of these people already know your brand, but as you start to get bigger and build a bigger database, you want to be very sensitive that you're not sending it to people that ultimately are not opening your content, right? Or unsubscribing and stuff like that. Christina, go ahead.
So the one that you showed that had the little news bite in it, like interest rates or whatever, that's a manual one that you guys custom do. It's not one done through Fello.
Fello actually put the widget on, so you'll see this right here, and then we just constantly change the copy.
Oh, okay. So we can do those through Fello.
Yep. So yeah, if I click on this just takes me into a Fello journey, so it's like, that's something that we've just found, but like, it's the same thing, like within Fello, you can create all your own like landing pages. And, we have a lot of clients that leverage, go create a home value landing page. Let's call it the deal of the week, right? And whatever it may be. And I'm going to go on social media, and I would highly recommend, if you don't want to send emails, leverage social media and say something like, friends, you would be shocked at how much the market has appreciated in the past 12 months here in Northeast Ohio. Click on, and if you go to ythomevalue.com, right? That's just going to drive you to a landing page that the young team set up. And all my agents have like home value with Anna, home value with Cassie, etc. We are constantly pushing this message. So if I go to YT Home Value, all it does is just drive me right into this form, which says, great, what's the address? If you go to home value with Anna, it just takes you to a Fello landing page. And so my agents are constantly posting this on social media. We have QR codes everywhere saying like, friends, you'd be shocked at how much the market has changed. You'd be shocked at how much it's impacted the value of your home. Click here. And we just take them to these landing pages, right? Building your database organically has to be one of your largest priorities. Or you have two options. Either if you want to grow and you want to go get 5 listings in the next 30 days, you either need to build your database organically or you need to go buy a bunch of leads. I am concerned about profitability of our industry and the margins. And what I have found is that the buying lead strategy doesn't normally pan out to a strong, profitable, scalable business. What I have found is if you build your database organically and you incubate your database with something of substance, of value, right? Other things of value is you're sending these messages to homeowners. Hey, homeowners, here's some things you can do to get your home ready for winter before I live in Cleveland, so we get pretty bad winters out here, before the winter hits. Hey, here's some things you can do for spring market, for spring to get your home ready that preserves the value or improves the value. Here's some design trends that have the highest return on investment. Here's some things that homeowners do to get their homes ready to increase the sale price. However, you can constantly be providing things of value. You need to be the thought leader, I would say, authority figure as from a homeowner perspective of the voice of reasoning, all the resource where they go for information. Because ultimately, when it comes to listing your home, you have to make a decision. You're going to interview multiple agents. A lot of our sellers, because we've been nurturing them and incubating them with value, right? normally don't interview multiple agents. They just call us and say, we've been following your content or we've been getting your updated home values for the last 2 years. We're ready to list our home, right? So I just think it's really important that like you build your database, you find all the homeowners, and then you just consistently provide value centered to what is information that would be valuable to the homeowner. Now, and I'll start jumping into the lead gen strategy. It's so much easier for me to go find 5 listings this week, not even in 30 days, because I have a database of homeowners that has been nurtured and conditioned with this really rich home value seller messaging. So when I call them and I go and call Wendy and I say, Wendy, hey, it's Ryan from the Young team. She's not like, who the hell are you? Like, she's like, hey, like, wow, I can't believe like we're actually having a conversation. I've been opening your emails for the last 2 years, which I can see, right? And so it's like, I know that there's some brand awareness and recognition already there. So I'll stop. We have a couple questions. Christina, go ahead.
So sorry, trying to think of the best way. So in looking at your CRM, is Fello like kind of like Follow Up Boss, but for listings specific on steroids?
Exactly. Fello syncs into my CRM, into my Follow Up Boss account, and basically puts all this really rich information on who are the homeowners, what's their homeowner data, how long they've been in their home, do they have a mortgage on their property, how much equity do they have, stuff like that.
So I'm trying to learn all these new things. So I'm trying to understand which program does what. So
Yeah.
do you use Follow Up Bus also to
Yep.
funnel and reach out to your listings, or so they're
So-
getting double the?
Yeah, great question. So what we do is we leverage Fello as an automated marketing and engagement tool for our homeowners. Fello finds all the homeowners in our database and then ultimately starts reaching out to them with these home value messages, with different types of messages, expireds if they expire, etc. But then I have also within my Follow Up Boss account all of this rich data within Fello, so I can see, for example, now this person's out of my market, but this person just expired on January 31st, so 5 days ago, right? I can see the equity they have. I can see the home value, what Fello says is the home value. I can see all their engagement within Fello. So Fello is a partner to my CRM, right? Just like we sometimes have like an IDX that focuses on buyers like searching for homes. Fello is my seller IDX, right? Syncs to our CRM. Everything that's happening within Fello pushes into my CRM. Fello is a set it and forget it type of kind of like platform that's just marketing, finding homeowners, marketing to them to get my brand in front of them and get them to raise their hands.
Awesome. I didn't realize, I've never used HomeBot or Fello, so I didn't realize you
Yeah.
got all this other information as well. Awesome. Thank you.
Super powerful. John, I think you were next.
2 things. How does organically growing a database when you're just adding people in with the new law of contact, they haven't opted in anything, but you're starting to send them, hey, want to know what your house value is? Is that against the rule?
Yeah, so great question. I can also share this with Wendy. I just did a TCPA webinar with one of the top TCPA attorneys within the Fello community. And something super important is, first off, I'm not an attorney. I don't provide legal advice. And also, I would always recommend to talk to your own attorneys. But Telephone Consumer Protection Act. What is not covered under Telephone Consumer Protection Act is email, okay? Email is regulated under what's called the CAN-SPAM Act, okay? That's what governs it. So if you follow proper email, if you follow proper email protocols and procedures, you should be doing this the right way. Here's what's really important for email, and Fello sends about 40 million emails out a month. So we're doing this at like a very large scale. What is most important with email is what is considered deliverability. So if you're seeing people that are not opening them and they're marking them spam and unsubscribing, then all of a sudden you want to reposition your strategy. But if you have a neighborhood, right, and you're a community in an HOA, I would highly recommend, if you're going to build your list organically, you build it off of things that you already have relationships with. Once again, I said like my kid's school. I said within a homeowners association where you're actually there, where people know you, where you're like, it's not just like a cold list. I would not recommend just buying a list of emails, putting them in and start blasting them. You will see your deliverability start to drop. You'll see a lot of people mark them spam. And then all of a sudden that puts you in like deliverability jail. So it's really important that ultimately like you kind of do it, you warm it up. You don't just blast all these people simultaneously. And that's how you really build like a good, what's called like a domain reputation.
Okay, my second question real quick is,
Yeah.
where are you getting mortgage data from?
Yep. So Fello basically has public record, MLS, and mortgage data. And so we use several sources. So for example, I can see that this person, they purchased their house back in 2001 off market. I can see that this person bought their house, they were expired with this agent. I can see the last time it was listed, it sold, etc. And then I can see things like this person has a conventional 30-year fixed at a 6.99%. And so
I guess I never noticed that in our reports.
yeah, it's so important. And I'll show you why that's important in just a little bit. And when you start actually proactively lead generating, you're going to leverage all this data to start becoming really intentional with who we have conversations with first and who we prioritize. So let's see, who is next? Deanna.
Hey Ryan, can you go back and show me your marketing tab? Because when I look at mine, I only see 2 automations. And so I'm wondering, you have so many touches.
Yeah. So here, there's a couple things. It depends on the type of, and we're continuing to build these. If your team does like a cash offer program, mine does turn on a cash offer message. And what's great about Fello is, back to John's point, is I'm only sending cash offer messaging based on the data. So I'm making sure that I'm not sending it to anyone that's actively on the market. I'm making sure they've been in their home for a certain period of time. I'm making sure they're within a certain price point, right? Now, not to get too in the weeds, but like what Fello really does well, we do a lot of things well, I shouldn't say that, but what Fello is great at is taking the data and then ultimately sending content to people based on the data points. Okay, so for example, I have a lender partner. I turn this on. I have people in my database that have over a 7% mortgage that would qualify to refi their primary mortgage, right? So I'm sending them messaging that helps build my lender's business, my lender partner, save on 123 Main Street with lower rates. Mortgage rates have dropped, creating the perfect opportunity to refi and save. That only goes to people in my database that have over a 7%, or I could change it to say 7.5% or 6.5%. So my point is that within Fello, if you click on these automations, you can turn on expired outreach. This goes to anyone that's in your database that expires with someone else. You can turn on, home value digest for long-term equities, or more different types of current mortgage rate digest that says, are you curious how much mortgages have impacted, the changes in mortgage have impacted the values of your home, stuff like that. Does that help?
So it's just a matter of me going into the dashboard and activating those.
Yep, exactly. And they'll give you a little digest on like, this one is for a series of targeted emails designed to drive homeowners to their personalized dashboard where they can view the current mortgage rates. So they land on their dashboard and they basically land right here. Here's where 30-year fixed rates are. Here's where 15-year are. Here, if you have this type of credit score, et cetera, et cetera.
And so then how often, I mean, you've got so many in there, how often are those touches going out?
Yeah, so we have what's called smart send. So we're basically making sure that if someone is supposed to get more than one email within a certain period of time, we shut down one of the emails so that we're not oversaturating them with too much content, right? The last thing we want to do is send people too many emails. We normally send them about 2 emails a month. The last thing we want to do is send people too many emails where all of a sudden they get turned off of the value we're trying to provide, So, and we can always connect offline. I can get you set up. Nancy, go ahead.
Morning. I live on Maui, so my database is pretty much people that have come here for a vacation. They just wanted to check out properties. They came to an open house, some Zillow leads, but majority of them do not live here. How does that work?
Yeah, so, I actually just posted about this morning. What's interesting within Fello, because we can find because we can find addresses for our clients. I posted on this in the Facebook group. Show me anyone in my database with more than one property that they are the owner of, right? Owner matching is any of high. And what's so interesting is you can actually start to get visibility, and this might be beneficial, it might not be, but you can get visibility when they actually list their other home out of state to see, wait, this person in Wisconsin, right, or Ohio, who said they wanted to eventually move to Maui, they wanted to retire, whatever it may be, they just listed their home. That might be a leading indicator to reach out to them to say, hey, just, you don't want to say, hey, I see you just listed your house, but, you know, hey, it's Nancy out here in Maui. I know it's been a while, but just curious, you know, if plans change, or are you still planning on ultimately making the move out here? But so a lot of our clients in secondary home markets really leverage a lot of this data that they have access to, which ultimately helps them identify who should they be having conversations with in those type of situations. You know, it's just really interesting. You probably know that if you have someone calling you looking at a $5 million house as a buyer lead, and then you put them into Fello and they live in a $180,000 home, you probably know, you know, no judgment, get out of judgment into curiosity, but you might want to ultimately look at that opportunity through a different lens versus someone has a $3 million house in Cleveland and they're considering buying a $5 million home in Maui, you know. Couple more, and then we'll jump into some actually targeted strategy and what to say to them. Is it Dion?
Yes, Dion.
Great. Yeah.
I was curious, how does your team find out where the person purchased the home, their next home? Like if I missed the person, somebody
Yeah.
else sold.
Yeah. So what we do is we notify you every day, and it stinks, but we notify you every day of people in your database that ultimately list their home with you or without you. Okay. And so you're going to get this digest, which is called the Real Seller Report or Property Intelligence. And basically what it looks like is just goes this email. What it looks like is Real Sellers. This is just an example of one. All of a sudden, this person in my database just listed their home today. They listed with this agent, right? This person, intelligence. You spell intelligence, that's embarrassing. So property intelligence from Fello. So these two people in my database listed their home today, right? This was 4 hours ago, and it stings because I can see this person listed with this agent, this person listed with this agent. So it allows me to get a lot better, right, of saying with our team members, hey, we're missing opportunities. Why are we missing them, right? And then lastly, within your actual Fello account, what Fello does is it actually shows you who previously owned a property. And so this is something that previous owner match is any of high and current owner match is low. Now I shouldn't have a lot of these because Fello actually removes the address from them, but I have 613 people and I can see that, you know, let's just look at this one on Bremerton. I can see that I used to own this property and I no longer own it. I sold it back in 2022. So it gives you all these kind of like tools and mechanisms to really actually like become very intentional, leveraging all this intelligence of saying like, does Deanna actually own this property? Oh, I can see she already sold it. Okay, let's remove this property from her and let's go find her new property to start marketing to her. The biggest mistake I see that agents make when it comes to seller lead generation is we look at our database as like, or just not even seller lead generation, but lead generation in general. We look at our database as it's like a one and done versus the lifetime value of an opportunity. Just because you listed your home without me this time doesn't mean that I'm not going to be there in 5 years from now when you're ready to resell and buy. If you think of it, if you think of the analogy of like with a bucket with a bunch of holes in it, if we're treating our business like we just keep pouring more water in, and as the water keeps falling out, then we have to constantly pour more water in, right? I could sit with 55,000 contacts in my database and never add a single person and have a great business for the next 10 years without adding another contact or buying another lead. But we look at it as, oh, they just bought without me, they're dead to me, right? But why not focus on the fact that they just bought without me? Let's focus on marketing to them at that new home as in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, whatever it may be. how do we start winning them back as a potential listing and then go help them purchase on the next side, right?
Ho-
This is not a one and done type of business that we're in. And so it's just something that's really important is as you start looking at your databases, we lost an opportunity, I'm going to get them on the next round. We lost an opportunity, but I'm going to start focusing on them as a homeowner, and I'm going to get that listing in 3 to 5 years or 2 years whenever they list. Okay?
How do you get their information for the new place though? Is there
What Fello does is we see that they sold that last property, so we archive it from them. So you still see it within the CRM, but then what we do is we find where they moved to. Normally it takes about 60 days for actually county recorders to actually change. But once again, you should be thinking of your database as this like living dynamic. It's not stagnant. Our database is not just once a person is in, they're stuck to that address and they're stuck to that phone number and email for the rest of their life, right? It needs to be dynamic. It needs to be constantly thinking of like, these people are coming and going. How do we consistently market to them, whether they've come or gone and wherever they've gone to? We need to constantly be looking at lead generation as really is building just a lifetime pipeline of opportunities. Okay. Michael, go ahead.
Yeah, for various reasons, became somewhat stagnant and kind of need to reconnect with a lot of people. And right now I'm really looking to build my business in the next, 3 to 6 months. I'm kind of at a standstill right now, but I'm in the Miami Beach area, surrounding area. So it's an interesting market, more of a luxury market because, most of the properties that are exist because of prices and everybody moving here are fairly high. Do you have strategies that help, expedite that? And I had done a fair bit of cold calling, expireds and so forth, and which is brutal now because I think that's what a lot of the major brokers and minor brokers are telling their new agents to do. And like, it's the last thing, even though I did it, I was like, oh, I hate doing this. Who wants to call people or get the call if you're a seller at 8 in the morning, or 9, whatever. So, that's question one. And also two, so I guess you have a way not to be recognized as spam.
Yep. Yeah. So first off, the first question, you're getting back into it. You want to start creating some opportunities. I agree. Look, I built my business on expireds and FSBOs back in 2009, 10, 11. I was 26 years old. The only people that would want to work with me are the people that didn't have success working with the best agent in town. And my thing was like, look, you tried the best. You tried the person that's been in the business for 20 years. Now it's time that you try someone that has fresh blood, that's creative, that's going to be a hustling, doing everything I can to help you get your home sold. So I believe in cold calling. It's back then. What I believe in now is you need to attract and not chase. Okay. And the best way to attract is to build this database organically and get in front of this database and do it. I'm going to even take you off of a seller fellow play, which is just, you need to do as many open houses as possible. You need to get in front of as many people as possible. You need to network as much as possible. I know this kind of seems like the old way of helping people buy and sell real estate, but it is becoming so much more important. These leads that we are buying are more diluted now than ever, right? So if the strategy is just, I'm going to buy a bunch of leads, well, they're already in a bunch of other people's databases. So it's going to be the people that get in front of their database with valuable content, that do it consistently, right? That get in front of them face to face, whether it's an open house or whatever it may be. I think that has to be the strategy, is like focus on that. And then the byproduct of that is you're going to generate a bunch of sales. It's not what everyone likes to hear. It's not like immediate. It takes time. You have to build the foundation. You have to dig the basement here in Cleveland. Some cities, you don't probably have basements, but like you got to dig the basement, put in the foundation, frame the home before you just start putting in the kitchen. And so it's like, build some of these habits of like building this very healthy pipeline, this healthy database. Then ultimately you're going to start to have a lead generation strategy centered around the database. To the question, your second question was email spam. You just have to be very aware if you're not using a product like Fello. Fello observes all this for you and throttles back if we're starting to see that and making sure we shut off people that are not opening and engaging. If you're not on Fello, you need to make sure that you have a strategy that you can observe what these people are doing with these emails or how they're responding to them. Okay. Christina, go really quickly. John, you'll go really quickly, John and Claire. And then I want to just make sure I get into like what do we say to these people? I think that's really important.
I just wanted to know if there's somewhere, obviously Fello does a shit ton. So is there somewhere else that we can go and like watch videos or something to see everything else it does?
Yeah, I'll get you all set up on Fello
Okay.
Academy, making sure it's all kinds of great content. And we can do more of these. And I know there's been a lot of great questions. I can coordinate with Wendy and we can even go deeper into like Fello usage. I just wanted to make sure, I saw a bunch of hands that are not currently using Fello, that I can start at least warming people up to the idea of seller lead generation, right? Like, and like starting to build this listing-based business. And we'll get a little bit more tactical as well. On just on what to say to these people. John, go ahead real quick.
Realistically, do you feel like you'll be getting an integration with Lofty, such as you got with Follow Up Boss?
I've asked several of our top users and top Lofty users to ring the bell as loud as they can with Lofty's team to help support us in building an integration. We'll do all the work. We just need them to say, yes, we're open to it. We want to, but right now, it is still not been approved by them. So in an ideal world, if you can reach out to Lofty and say, I love Fello, I want a native integration. We have native integrations with Sierra Interactive, with Follow Up Boss, with KV or Bold Trail. We want to build native integrations. We'll do all the work with whoever will allow us to natively integrate within their CRM. If not, you just have to use Zaps, which ultimately pushes data back and forth. It's not the ideal way though.
Is there a way with Zaps? So if I've got Zaps coming into Fello from Lofty, is there a way in certain circumstances to return data from Fello back to Lofty?
Yes. Gus, can you confirm that for me? I know Gus is somewhere on here. Gus is somewhere on here. Type in the chat if you are here, Gus.
Yeah, sorry, my mic is muted. Yeah, it's two-way integration via Lofty through Zapier. So anything that comes back in from Fello will push back into Lofty. Typically, it's via a note, like on the individual contact.
Okay. And is there a way that I could get one of you guys on Zap with me to make sure I don't screw it up?
Yeah, of course.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
100%. Real quick, Susan, before you go, I want to make sure, and then Gus can also ask any other Fello questions after. I want to make sure I cover this. This is extremely important. I'm like, okay, so we're building our database of homeowners, and we'll probably have to do a 2.0 version where I can go deeper into this. But we're building our database of homeowners, all right? And now what happens is people are saying, I want to see my home value, or they're saying, I'm interested or curious, or they're engaging with our content, etc. So I want to make sure we know what to say when we reach out to them, right? Now within Fello is centered around ultimately the home value. That's the core competency. We have other messaging as well. But here is what's so important within the Fello dashboard is we send them a bunch of different values from the top leaders from an AVM standpoint. And you also have the ability to adjust the value at any point in time where you can actually say, I think your home is worth X, right? Here's why I say this. I'm going to start reaching out to people in my database. Remember, we got to find 5 listings in the next 30 days. I'm going to reach out to the people that are most actively engaged, okay? The people that have clicked on their dashboards the most, and the people that have data that would say that they're more likely to sell than not. And so what we do is show me anyone in my database that's been in their home for, let's say, over 20 years, okay? I've just taken my entire database down to 7,800 people. And of those people that have been in their home over 20 years, show me anyone that doesn't have a mortgage on their property. Because if they don't have a mortgage, that means they have a lot of equity. In 20 years, they've probably seen a lot of appreciation. Now I have 3,100 people, right? And you can keep going. Show me people 25 years, 30 years, home is appreciated, etc. The reason why this is so important is because I can look at Alan Corey, who I know owns this property. He's been in this house since 1983, bought it for $102,000. It's now worth roughly $350, $400. When I reach out to Alan, he's opened 31 emails from me. He's clicked on his dashboard 14 times. When I reach out to Alan, it's probably going to be a little bit of a warmer conversation versus someone who just bought their home 6 months ago, or someone that has a 3% mortgage on their property and says, look, Ryan, I'd love to sell and take advantage of the market, but I have a 3%. I don't want to lose that and then go to a home and have a 7% mortgage, right? So the strategy is not only do we want to find people that are actively opening our emails and engaging in our content, we also want to leverage some data. This is where Fello really comes in crucial, is let's focus on people that are more likely to sell than less. And so what Fello does is we ultimately take what's called a lead score based on all these different data points. So I can see that this person has been in their home for a long time. I can see that they are recently engaging, etc. So what do we say to Alan Corey? Okay. What we basically reach out to them is say, hey, Alan, it's Ryan with the Young team. Now remember, he's opened 20 some emails. He knows who I am. I am so curious what your thoughts are about the home value I've been sending you. Is it too low, too high, or just right? Okay. This is really important. When you reach out to them, I'm not talking about selling my home. I'm coming from contribution. I'm focusing on service, right? I want to serve them. I'm so curious. What are your thoughts about the home value I've been sending you? Do you think it's too high, too low, or just right? Okay. Now, he's going to say one of two things. He's either going to say it's too low or it's just right. I don't know if I've ever heard someone say it's too high. It's weird how that works, right? They love the high home values. They don't like it when it's too low, but it's either too low or just right. Now, what's great about Fello is if it's too low, I can go ahead and make adjustments to their value on their dashboard. Tell me a little bit more about your homes. Tell me a little bit more about the improvements. Tell me a little bit more about your home so I can make an adjustment to your dashboard. If they say it's just right, I'm automatically saying, well, that's what's great about this technology I've invested in. It's the most accurate home pricing tool on the market. The consumer doesn't know who Fello is. It's all white label to your brand. It's all proprietary. It's all customizable. So it feels like it's your own tool, right? We did it very intentionally, that reason. So what are your thoughts? Do you think it's too high, too low, or just right? He's going to say too low or just right. We have a response if it's too low. Well, let me make adjustments. Tell me a little bit more about your property. If you made any improvements. If he says it's just right, wow, that's exciting. That's why I invested in the technology that I invested into. It's the most accurate home pricing tool on the market. All right. Question number 2. Now, this is where we move into the sales part of the conversation. And Alan, by the way, what had you looking for the value of your home? Are you considering buying, selling, or refinancing? Okay. You considering buying, selling, or refinancing? Now, this is a trick question because no one answers this with buying, selling, or refinancing. They all say, I'm just curious. All right. We have to be prepared for every person to say, I'm just curious. This is where 99% of people we're going to respond back with. And this is where 99% of the agents hang up the phone. And they say, great, if I can ever be of help, let me know. And then remember, Fello notifies you when sellers in your database list their home. Alan is going to list his home with my competitor in 60 days from now when he told me he was just curious. They lie to me every time, right? You go to the mall, you walk in at Nordstrom and they say, what brings you in today? And you say, oh, I'm just browsing. It's like, who drives to the mall to just browse? You browse on your phone, right? We are so conditioned to say, I'm just looking, I'm just curious, I'm just browsing. I asked this third question on all 30 of the listing appointments that I set, and you need to write this down. It's the most important question you can ask. I totally get that you're just curious. I'm just curious if there was an opportunity to sell your home, even if it was off market, and it made financial sense, would you be open to looking at an offer? All right, and I'm going to say that again. Totally get that you're just curious. I'm just curious if there was an opportunity to sell your home, even if it was off market, and it made financial sense, would you be open to looking at an offer? And here's what's so important about this question. 50% of the people are going to say yes. And then that's not where we say, great, when can I come over and I'll bring a listing paperwork and a lockbox and a sign? Because they're going to be like, whoa, you just asked if I'd be open to looking at an offer off market if it made financial sense. And all of a sudden you're trying to come over and list my home. They're going to say you're a wolf in sheep's clothing. This is where we have to go really deep into discovery. Okay. Wow, that's so exciting. Where would you go if you accepted the offer? When would you want to be there? Why is that important to you? Okay. You're going to start to see that a lot of people are going to start opening up when you ask them if there's an opportunity to sell your home, even if it's off market and it made financial sense, would you be open to looking at an offer? You're going to see a lot of people that are going to say, I'd be open to it. Sure. Wow, that's amazing. Where would you go if you accepted it? Oh, you want to move to South Florida? That's incredible. When would you want to be there? Why is that important? Okay. And you see what we're doing. Now, what we're doing is we're actually discovering true motivation. We're actually discovering if there is any intent on this person selling their home in the next 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, 3 years. You're going to hear some people say, I would sell, but my son is a junior in high school and I don't want to sell until he graduates. Great. There's a seller in 2 years from now. I'd be open to selling, but not for 3 years until I retire. Great. There's a seller in 3 years from now. Seller lead generation is not about if you are planning on listing right now. It's about when are you planning on selling your home. If you look at your entire database of all these homeowners, you should be able to say within your database, this person's planning on selling in 3 years, and this person's planning on selling in 6 months, and this person's planning on selling if they can find the right opportunity in this area, and this person's planning. If you can't do that with your homeowners, that means you're not having the right conversations with them. So before we wrap, I just want to kind of show you how this all kind of comes together. You build the database of homeowners. You start marketing to the database of homeowners, consistently getting your brand in front of them, right? The more they engage with the marketing, then you start reaching out to them coming from service and contribution of how can I help you? What are your thoughts about the value, right? Is it too high, too low, just right? Then we're working our way into this hypothetical question of if there was an opportunity and it made financial sense, would you be open to looking at an offer? And when they say yes, it's not when you go and try to get the listing appointment. It's when you say, great, where would you go if you accepted the offer? Wow, that's amazing. The whole goal is to take these people in your database and actually start to identify what their true selling timeline is. And all of a sudden, your lead generation strategy on sellers will completely open up. Blanca, go ahead. I have to hop. I have a noon. We can do another one of these, get it in the schedule. Wendy, me and you.
We definitely will.
Sorry, I got a little long-winded.
No
I'm
problem,
happy to
no
answer
problem.
any questions too, if anybody needs.
Yeah, Gus is here as well.
Thank
Blanca,
you,
real quick.
Ryan. Thank you for coming. Blanca, do you have a real quick question?
Yeah, I was just really quick. Sorry. If it takes too long, then we could answer next time. But I was just wondering, well, what if they say, sure, what do you have available? Or do you have an offer for me now? Because we're telling them that. So that was the only thing I was going to ask.
I'm basically asking if they'd be open to looking at an offer. And what I say is great. That's exciting. What number makes financial sense? We work with buyers all the time, and I'd love to get this in front of them, and then I go into my database of buyers and say to the buyers, if I can find you an off-market property, would you be open to taking a look at it with me? And they say, yeah, I'd love to. And then I say, great, let me introduce you to Mr. Seller that I just talked to. And now all of a sudden, Mr. Seller is looking for a property. And it's like you start playing this game of back and forth. Wendy, let's set up a 2.0. We'll go much deeper in the script. And I'll tell you ways that we can really take this to the next level. All right.
All right. And then email me anything that you want me to put in the email for the replay.
Yeah, Gus, real quick, why don't you share a link and we'll take it from there. Thanks, everybody.
All right. Thank you. All right, guys. Sorry, but we have to hop out of here and get into the VIP room. So if you guys are signed up for VIP, I will see you in there. If not, the link is in the chat. And then, like I said, we will do a 2.0 next month with Fello because I could tell this was a really good call and everybody has a lot of questions. So awesome. Thank you guys for coming. Have an amazing week and I'll see you on the next call. Bye-bye. Thanks, guys.